Last summer, I had the opportunity to go to Hershey Park and experience the 14 roller coasters, suites, and other attractions. In this video, I'll be ranking every roller coaster from worst to best. Let's do this. At number 14, we have Coco Cruiser. This small Zamperla kiddie coaster is obviously a cloned layout with a helix and back to the station. And because of this small, short, and boring layout, it takes the last place spot in my ranking. At number 13 is Wild Mouse, the Wild Mouse coaster. Again, this is another cloned roller coaster, and because of that, it will always bring it down on my rankings. Also, Wild Mouse, in my opinion, are just not fun. They're very repetitive, usually slow, and I don't like the feeling when you go around those turns. It's not something I particularly enjoy. So I will usually choose to avoid these coasters, and that is why it is so low on this ranking. At number 12 is Trailblazer. Sadly, when I was at the park, this ride was closed the entire day, so I was not able to experience this aerodynamics family mine train coaster. However, I have been at other ones like the one at Six Flags Great Adventure, so I'll be ranking this based on that one, and they are rough, very slow, and just mainly painful. At number 11 is Jolly Rancher Remix. This Vekoma Boomerang coaster is very rough, which makes the ride not enjoyable at all, honestly. So, unless you haven't been on one of these before, this is one of the rides I would definitely suggest skipping unless you're fine with getting a headache or neck pain. At number 10 is Comet. This is the only coaster that was open the entire day that we weren't able to get on because the entire day it had like an hour and a half wait, which none of us were willing to wait for Comet. Being the oldest coaster in the park and one of the oldest coasters still operating, I'm sure this thing runs great. It doesn't look insanely rough. And based on POVs, it seems similar to Racer 75. And this is about where I ranked Racer 75 in my ranking of King's Dominion. So I thought it would be fair to put it around the same area of ranking that I put Racer 75. At number 9 is Super Duper Looper. This is the only other coaster in the park that I did not get to experience. It was shut down the whole day, so I could be ranking this in the totally wrong spot. And if you love this thing, I'm very sorry, but I was not able to ride it. At number 8 is Lightning Racer. This coaster is only so low because it was terribly rough. The coaster had so much potential. It had a great layout, great dueling coaster, very unique, but it gave me a migraine for the rest of the day I was there. And I just couldn't get past the fact that it was just so rough. And because of this, I put it so low. And my train even won, but still, it was too rough of a ride for me to enjoy it. Might have had a bad ride. Might have been operating slow or bad that day, but it was just horribly rough. I loved the speed of it. I loved everything it did, how the coasters went next to each other, under each other, over each other, but it was just too rough of a ride for me to enjoy. So I just couldn't put it any higher because I really did not like it at all. At number 7 is Laugh Track. This indoor family spinning coaster was extremely fun. It provided a little bit of force, not much airtime, but the spinning sensation was very unique. It was the first spinning coaster I'd ever been on when we went. So, great ride. Definitely hit it early in the morning. It gets extremely long lines by the end of the day. Number 6 is Great Bear. Don't get me wrong, just because this is at number 6 does not make it a bad coaster. This Hershey Park's top 6 is so good, and it pains me to put it at number 6, but compared to the ones coming up, this one is definitely a little bit worse than them. But don't get me wrong, definitely hop on this when you're going. It's a great B&M 4-seater inverted, but it just didn't compare to the ones ahead of it. Number 5 is Fahrenheit. This was a really well-paced coaster. That is definitely what puts it ahead of Great Bear. The pacing was incredible. All the elements felt smooth other than the Cobra Roll, which they usually aren't the smoothest. But other than that, everything was smooth and intense and fast-paced, and that is what put it at number 5 in this video. At number 4 is Thigh Crush. Oh, no, my bad. Sky Rush. But seriously, this thing hurts so bad. But I couldn't put it any lower on the list because the layout was so incredible. If I had to compare it to any coaster, I would say the most similar thing to it is definitely Intimidator 305. Well, technically Project 305, but anyway. But I heard they put new restraints on it, but I didn't get to experience those, and the old ones were so bad, and that is probably what kept it from going higher. Honestly, if the restraints had been fine, this probably would have been number 1. But those restraints took away so much. But the fact that it's still number 4 shows that it's such a good ride. At number 3 is Candemonium. This was brand new when we rode it. I've been on 3 B&M Hypers to this point. Candemonium, Apollo's Chariot, and Nitro. This one would rank number 2 for me. I think Nitro was longer and had more elements, but this thing was definitely better than Apollo's Chariot. Obviously, it was smoother. The airtime there was more airtime, a mix of probably of ejector and floater, so flow-ejector airtime. But the layout was great. I love that it goes around the Hershey Kiss Fountain. It was very scenic. Right at the front of the park, so you can see it from the parking lot. Great addition to the skyline, but just an overall great coaster. For the second spot, we have Storm Runner. This coaster was so fun. It was, I would call it the mini King Ka, but better in my opinion, because the flying snake dive, I am pretty sure that is the only one in the country. The only reason it's not at number 1 is because of how short it is. This is such a short ride. If this thing was longer, 100% my number 1 coaster. Obviously, this leaves only 1 coaster to go. So taking my number 1 spot is the newest coaster in the park, Wildcats Revenge. It is rare for me to put an RMC above Intamin or B&M, so you know when I do that it was an incredible ride. Wildcats Revenge took everything I didn't like about Twisted Timbers, scrapped it, and added even more that I love about RMC. All the elements they invented are just absolutely perfect. Everything about this was just perfect. Honestly, this thing is getting close to Intimidator 305, which is very rare for me to say about a coaster that I like it almost as much as Intimidator. But seriously, if you go to Hershey Park, you need to get on this ride. The best in the park. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.